Hey y'all, thanks for coming by and checking out the second conversation that I had with the great Bill Laswell. As many of you probably know by now, Bill has been suffering from some ongoing health issues which have made other things in his life a little difficult. There has been a GoFundMe started, and the link to that GoFundMe is found in the description of this video. Please click the link and donate if you can, and please share and spread the word. Thank you again, and enjoy. I had recently come upon a performance of Revelator at the Stone in like '99, and I had not seen that before.
Yeah, that's with Applebaum and Will Bernard and Aaron Johnston.
On drums there.
Yeah, drummer.
I wasn't familiar with that project at all.
Well, we have a record, I just have to mix it and release it. But we did make a full record. So
Hmm. Um, were there other performances of that? I think I saw the one at the Stone. Um,
I think we played at a place called New Blue, and there's been like three or four of those
mhm,
things.
mhm. It, it was there a lot of preparation. Like you've known those people for a while, yeah.
Yeah, well, Peter, I've known forever.
Hmm.
Will Bernard, I just started with, and Aaron Johnston, kind of the same. But we're all kind of familiar with each other. So,
Hmm. So it's kind of a set up and go kind of situation. There's not a lot of previous discussion uh, or planning ahead of time.
no, never just play. And then with the recording, it's play. And then Peter's good at arranging things later and overdubbing and creating pieces out of it. So that I think that's what the record's going to be.
Hmm. And that's one of a few things that you have polished up and ready to go, like kind of on the table. You had a bunch of albums that were ready.
Yeah, I'm behind on that, and at least three or four other things. But step by step, I'm gonna get it. I hope. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, in that specific performance, I guess is a good example of. I've noticed your bass sounds have a lot of uh, obviously a very heavy dub or kind of reggae uh, element to it, but then I kind of feel like a little bit of Motown in maybe the simplicity and sensibility, and tastefulness, maybe if that makes sense.
yeah, Motown not so much. I wasn't really into Motown. I preferred like Stax records and Muscle Shoals a little bit, and not Motown not so much. Those were all jazz guys that couldn't make it in jazz, and they ended up just playing sessions. And so it's always was a little busy for me. So
Okay, okay. So more the funk and blues avenue.
yeah, yeah. Again, not so much Motown. James Jamerson was a great musician, but it's a little busy for me. And then but if you listen to Marvin Gaye, the what's going on and all that stuff, it's pretty phenomenal ideas. And I think that a lot of that he couldn't even stand up. He was drunk most of the time, and but he was able to make this statement. And but Stax, it's very minimal. It's if you take Booker T and the MGs, it's Duck Dunn was incredibly minimal. Um, Great drumming and just so simple, and I combine that influence, Chuck Rainey, a little bit. And as far as dub, it's I don't ever relate to it as reggae so much. It to me, dub is from outer space. It's not from Jamaica. So
Hmm. Awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, on the subject of simplicity, I been listening to a lot of the Wah Wah Watson and that Hang Up Your Hang Ups track there.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Yeah.
that's just a combination of people doing, I guess, simple things together, and just having a great feel all together.
Well, that's where some of the Jamaicans, like as Family Man or Robbie Shakespeare, Flabba Holt, they play incredibly minimal, but it's powerful. And not all the busy players are powerful. They're efficient and they're impressive technically, but it's not always the power.
Do you think that relates directly to their inner being? So,
Probably, I wouldn't know how to go into detail on that, but
mhm.
probably, yeah.
When I met you, that was in like Times Square area. Is that where you started out and hung out?
Well, for a long time, I was downtown. So that's what they call the downtown musicians, which I didn't like that um, concept. That I'm not that. I was downtown because I had no money. So, but Times Square, there was a time when a guy I just played with he was the drummer for all the break dancers, and that was kind of interesting.
He it was a drummer that played behind DJs or
Well, he played behind break dancers.
okay.
No other music, just
Oh,
beats and breakdancing. And then he lived in Japan for like 6 years, and they were playing in parks with breakdancers. So
wow, wow. And who is this?
it's called Lakatron.
And that would have been like late 70s, early 80s kind of?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
I remember you said that you played, I think it was in a park in like 81 with some DJs, and that was a new thing.
Well, I played in the Bronx Armory
Oh, right, right, right,
with
right.
with DJs, and that would be, yeah, I think 81.
Did you know Bambata already at that time, or did you meet him through this?
I met him before, and but he was when I played, it was Bambata, DST, Red Alert, Africa Islam. It was quite a few DJs.
And you're still in touch with them today?
DST I'm in touch with. Um, Bambata, I saw him in Japan, but that's been a few years.
DST is still making music, or is he still involved in music and making music?
No, I think he's active in talking about being active in music.
Okay, fair enough. Um, I wanted to ask you about there was a point. Do you remember the celluloid interview?
Yeah, I do. That's a while ago too. That's over 10 years ago.
Yeah. Uh, there was a point where you looked off camera at something. I don't know. I always was curious as to what it was that triggered this, but you looked like in a disbelief, uh, like what the heck? What are you talking about? Kind of look.
I can't remember that wasn't really celluloid. Those people were from Germany, and they were licensing celluloid. And they came and did the interview, and I think we blew it. We were not taking them serious at all. So,
Do you feel that way, or did somebody say something like?
nah, it was just kind of old. It didn't mean anything. So, but I had a moment there. I thought the guy said, "Do you have any regrets in the music and your work?" And I said, "Well." when you're young and somebody asks you that, you say, "No, I wouldn't have done anything any different. I have no regrets." But when you get older, you say, it's only regrets. And I thought that was kind of cool, but not very positive, but true.
Yeah, I remember that specifically. Do you care? I feel like I understand it, but do you care to elaborate?
Well, people just don't really be that honest about what they've done and where they are, what they are. And then later on, you realize, wow, could have handled that a lot differently. So,
Like a young man's ego kind of thing?
yeah, it's that exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I guess everything would be done differently because we have more information now. Um, I just try to, yeah, I guess live as future regret free
Yeah.
as possible, if that makes any sense, you know? But
Yeah, I don't know. I just, looking back, I could imagine things could have been different, but I really can't complain, you know, although I'm complaining. So,
yeah, I mean, yeah, reflecting or whatever. And there's different levels of accomplishment. And obviously, I mean, the way you view yourself is not going to be the way somebody on the outside is looking at you in a sense of accomplishment level, you know.
oh yeah, that's all across the board. Everybody's going to look at things differently. So,
And that changes constantly.
yeah, and you always measure that differently. It depends on what comment you just heard or how do you feel about it now as opposed to 10 years from now, 10 years before.
Uh, um, where we are right now, as opposed to 10 years before, at least culturally, feels very constricting on some level, very tight for people who feel. Uh,
Yeah.
um, how do you deal with that constricting feeling or that potential of the world?
Well,
Uh,
it's a big world, and you got to see it, and I've been lucky to be able to see most of it. And I never questioned anything. I never doubted anything until recently, and now I really just hope I can continue it. But it's harder now, and there's more pressure. There's more idiots around, and that doesn't help. So
no, it doesn't at all. Uh, and they're making new names for themselves and
probably,
bigger titles and all of this.
yeah,
Um, in all of that idiotness or whatever, corruptness, whatever you want to call it, how do you maintain a sense of purity? Uh, that's something that resonates in your music. To me, I think I was saying before, just the tonality, the tone of the instruments, and just the process of recording, but also a wholesomeness about you.
yeah.
Like, how do you maintain that kind of purity? I guess.
Well, that part should be natural. You can't create that. You can't force that.
Sure, sure.
At the end of the day, everybody's going to judge you, and what comes out of the other side, if it's considered pure, then that's a great thing. But I don't know how to create purity. So
Sure, sure. It just is. Um, Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all should be all a natural expression of what you're doing at the moment. So,
Right. Right. A feel. Yeah. Just the feel. Uh, and maybe going back to the Motown idea of that purity perhaps getting corrupted by concepts, money, and things like that, like having to write a love song or having to have words rhyme or write in a palatable uh, manner for the American public or whatever it was, as opposed to just making music that came from their own heart. Uh, maybe.
well, those are those are all jobs, and
Mm,
like Motown, those were jobs. People had to do a job. Today we're going to play this song, and you do it the way you do it.
mm,
But they're jobs. And that's still the case with popular music, repetitive music, whatever you call it.
mm. Program, yeah. And it's ingrained in the up and coming musicians and stuff. It's just a fabric of who they are, that format.
Yeah, it's a format that doesn't really move too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's the obligation stays firmly put in the idea that you're trying to please someone or uh,
External.
make something that's uh, going to be successful so that other people profit from it. So,
Right, right, right. Um, Something I wanted to ask that was a little bit off that subject, but was on the subject of Ginger Baker. Last time we were discussing some of the work that you had done with him. Had you come across a guy named Sean Lane?
Sean Lane is a guitar player, right?
Yeah, he was. He passed away at like 40. But he was a multi instrumentalist. Um, just a virtuoso. Uh,
Yeah, I met him. He came. He
oh wow,
worked at our studio with
wow.
with Jonas Hellborg.
Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, Sean Lane. When he
Wow.
was a kid, when he was like really young, he played in a
Black.
band called Black Oak, Arkansas,
Sure. Freaky. Yeah, yeah,
and he was a shredder.
yeah, yeah.
But I remember he came to the studio, and
Wow.
rather large guy. They bought like 50 pizzas and then proceeded to play fusion for the whole night.
Do you remember what that project was or?
I don't remember, but I think it was Jonas's thing,
Sure.
and Sean Lane was just like soloing on it. So.
Yeah, yeah. He was a monster. Um, he played with Ginger a little bit at some point.
Yeah, that's probably through Jonas.
Okay. And you have a relationship with him?
We're a little out of touch, but yeah, I know him, and
Huh.
I've known him for a long time.
I'm just realizing that, yeah, in addition to being all the other things that you've accomplished production wise and everything else, that you're in the echelon of like these amazing bass players, all with different worlds and styles and personalities and everything. And that's amazing. Um, I know that Sean and Jonas went on to work with like the some Indian Carnatic musicians.
I don't know.
It was a a family in India, Vinacurum, I believe it was pronounced.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Uh,
I know Jonas was trying that a lot. So
yeah, it was interesting. I've enjoyed Jonas's music. Um, at different points?
Well, I remember they used to play in the around that Bucket knew Sean Lane or knew of him,
Hmm, hmm.
and they were all kind of connected and on some level. So,
Right, right. Yeah, that's I found out about Sean Lane through Bucket, over the years. And they were at the studio.
they recorded, yeah,
Hmm. Do you remember what projects or?
not really, and
Uh,
I don't remember if it came out or Jonas. We kind of shared the studio in Brooklyn for a while,
oh wow.
and he brought some equipment from Europe. He had a Neve console that he got from some Swedish radio station or something, and he had microphones and a few things. And I told him I would take care of the studio, bring the equipment, and we kind of set up a studio.
Oh wow. Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
I started there immediately doing a lot of stuff. And Jonas was mostly doing things that didn't manifest. They like maybe I know Ingwe Malmsteen was there a few times.
What?
I don't think that ever came out either.
Oh wow. That must have been interesting. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, to say the least. Do you do you remember what your first project that you worked on was there?
not so much. I did a record for Jonas with Tony Williams and a string quartet, and that came out on Axiom.
Okay, right.
That I remember because it actually came out. But a lot of the stuff, I don't really remember what happened. So
You've done so much, and I imagine just day in and day out of constant recording and the whole process and stuff. Things get lost. Um, are you like a in the studio all the time type of person or?
no, I never lived in the studio.
Okay.
I couldn't wait to leave. I never worked long hours.
Oh, okay.
I come around noon and try to be gone by 5.
Oh.
Always,
Oh.
never any different.
Hmm.
Unless I was working with people that are complicated and talented, but complicated. So, um, not in my own studios. So when I worked at Power Station with Jason Casaro, he wouldn't even kind of get started until midnight and
Wow.
heavily into drugs and alcohol.
Hmm.
And that's takes up a lot of your time.
Yeah, and energy. Um, yeah, thankfully I haven't really gotten into anything serious, but I do love the late night. Seems to be a great time for me personally.
Yeah, I always worked in the daytime,
Well,
with the exception of dealing with Jason, because we would stay there all night and into the morning. But that's about the only time I really did that.
hmm, okay. Uh, yeah, just another reason why I'm grateful to have these conversations. I had a different picture uh, of the process, I guess, and no idea about your connection with Jonas there. Uh, that's great. Um, I recently saw a clip of the what you did with John Zorn, and didn't realize how big that space was there.
Oh, that's a Gagosian art gallery,
Okay,
I think.
okay, yeah. It just the pictures themselves were gorgeous, and just everything that was happening between you two was perfect. It was just
I
amazing.
think that's at that gallery.
Okay,
There was a painter called Sterling Ruby,
okay,
and it was his art show, and I think he wanted us to be part of it. And
awesome.
We played. I think we played three 6-minute pieces. I don't know what they used, but
It was a piece that was called Turbines, I believe. Something.
I don't know.
Yeah, it could have been named by somebody. I'll make sure. So Sterling Ruby. I'll make sure to put a link in the YouTube description for him,
Right.
for them. And they requested for you to be there.
Maybe I that was a Zorn thing. Zorn just calls you and says, "I got this thing, and they pay you this much, and it's going to be great." And he's in and out 5 minutes. For me, I can't do 5 minutes because I have equipment, I have tech, I have to do a setup.
Yeah.
But he just has the horn, so he's just grab in and out.
Just zipping her. Yeah, yeah. That must be nice uh, to travel so lightly, I guess.
Right.
Um, I noticed your pedal board was pretty extensive in that session.
Yeah, it's always kind of the same. It has been for the last few years. So.
Hmm. And you utilize the parameters of those pedals fully, and with the textures and
Yeah.
everything, uh, that is a big part of your sound. But I noticed the bass that you use, the 8 string, um, obviously has a very specific sound and feel as well.
Well, that 8 string, there's only one, and they made it for me
Ah,
because they knew I wanted an 8 string, and they weren't really making them, so they said they would make it. It took a long time,
uh-huh.
and I got that through Chad Smith's publicist helped me
Okay.
um, to work that out. So she's the one who really got the endorsement and made sure they did it. Took like 2 years to get. So
It, is that a company or a person that made that?
it's yeah, it's a company. It's Ovation.
Oh, okay, sure, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, which I don't know anything about. I knew they made acoustic guitars.
Graphite, yeah, like a.
There's another one called Warwick,
Mm-hmm,
which is I got that from Jonas Hellborn.
mm-hmm.
He worked with that company. I don't think he's there anymore, but they made me some stuff too.
Okay. And how long have you had that 8 string?
Not 2 years, maybe a year, something like that. Not long.
Okay. Yeah, for some reason I was identifying your sound. I thought it was particularly from that bass, but I guess it's primarily coming from, well, you obviously first off, and the effects that you've been using. Whereas I thought maybe that bass had been on previous albums. Uh,
No, it's
okay.
it's on like no albums.
Oh, okay. I saw with the
Yeah.
Praxis. I saw you. Uh,
Well, I was using that on those gigs because my fingers weren't good and I couldn't play my regular bass correctly. So I used the 8 string because I can use a pick,
uh huh.
and that was it was an alternative to my what I would normally do. But in the end, I listened back and I like it. I can't do that every time though.
Right. Um, I've had a lot of thoughts about that. Seeing you in so many other contexts with people, and then seeing that performance or those 2 nights there, it kind of made me realize that uh, Bucket and Brain come from a more rigid, like we were talking about before, that pop sensibility. It has a rigidity to it, if that's correct. It's nothing against them or anything. It's just a very different uh, style of playing.
Right, right.
And I I feel like you have a much more open approach. Again, using that performance at the Stone as an example, that was a very open, evolving, uh, sections of music where I feel like there was maybe pressure from the crowds to play like the hits, and Bucket and Brain kind of went.
Well, I think with Buckethead, he just plays what he plays his show.
Sure.
You know, Brain is just playing beats, and especially Buckethead, he doesn't really play with people so much. He doesn't improvise. He just plays what his show is, which are these riffs and
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
kind of, I guess, almost songs.
Hmm.
Um, and lately in the last few years, I play improvised, and I think there's more music in improvised. The new sound will come from improvisation.
Right, right. Um, I feel like Bernie Worrell would have been a good tie in between those worlds because he kind of danced between both. He had the format, but the freeness as
Well,
well.
yeah, he was in the middle, and
Yeah,
he could be totally playing a song, but at the same time open to improvise. So,
um, you and he seem to have a very special and great relationship.
oh yeah,
Yeah. I was working at a club for a while and trying to, like the last years of his life, for the last year or so, I was trying to organize a benefit. I was in touch with somebody from his family, a cousin or something, and then after he passed, I tried to organize a tribute show where people would play songs that he had.
yeah. They did one in New York,
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean that this would have been just like a small level type of thing, obviously. Um,
right?
but I became frustrated having to explain to people, just who he is
Yeah.
and how deep his roots go. Uh, even touching upon, I guess, all of Dr. Dre's career.
Well, it's all that stuff is built on Bernie's riffs and stuff.
Yeah, and Bootsy. Yeah, yeah. It's thank you. That's nice to hear somebody say it.
Yeah.
Because I've had to explain that to people. I guess where I would hope it would be common knowledge, or at least some acknowledgement of who he was and how deep his contributions go uh, to all music.
Yeah.
You and I appreciate, at least from the outside looking in, it seems like there was a lot of mistreatment in that camp there, that family, and it seemed like you helped him out and a lot of the members during times where they were not recording with
Well, yeah.
George.
I with Bernie, I can't remember, but I did a few of his solo records and solo piano and I always kept him in mind for everything. So I put him in a lot of projects that he normally wouldn't. I took him to East Africa. We did a great trio with Tony Williams and Maceo. Yeah, that's a record called Blacktronic Science.
Okay. Huh.
So there's two tracks on there, which is that trio with Tony and Maceo.
Huh.
And that kind of confused people a little bit, especially like George Clinton. They're like, because they're not musicians, they
Mm-hmm.
characters.
Mm-hmm.
And Bernie can actually play. He's a musician. So I thought, why not play with Tony Williams? So, and Maceo couldn't believe he was playing with Tony Williams. So they had a great rapport, and I thought it was a great statement, achievement, and music. Not everybody agrees with that.
Uh, and that's Blacktronic.
Electronic Silence.
Okay.
It was originally on a label called Ryko Disc, I think.
Okay, yeah, I had some Zappa and yeah, different stuff on that label. I remember it.
Yeah, you could find that record,
Okay.
I think.
Um, Speaking of characters, I know that you've met a bunch. Somebody I was wondering, you did some work with Genesis Peorage at one point, or?
Not so much, but I knew him,
Oh, okay.
and I think he did a couple of readings for me on records, and I can't remember which. There's one called "The Hashishin: The End of Law,"
Okay, okay.
and Genesis. He read something on that.
Yeah.
I didn't really work with him on music so much, but I knew him,
Hmm.
and that's another one. He was a character.
Yeah, for sure, and a great contributor and creator and changer of art and stuff. But and George had that creative sensibility, I think. But I think just years of he turned into a character.
Well, George was very smart, and I think he was good with concepts, and when he was younger, he had a lot of ideas.
And talent, yeah, yeah.
He was special.
Sure, sure. I guess maybe it just abuse, years of abuse led to corruption, corrupting the band and unfairness and stuff. But I mean, Bootsy was able to maybe see that ahead of time
Yeah, yeah,
and kind of create a name for himself.
and he's a musician too. So.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, one of the great, yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, Somebody who is a character as an extension of who they are, as opposed to a contrived cartoon. Even if there is thought behind it, it's still like a free expression of who they are.
Yeah.
Who they are.
Well, Bootsy's pretty diverse, and people don't realize that he's a lot more than just this cartoon character. It's a lot more.
Absolutely, yeah. And he seems to be doing pretty well now, like health wise, and
Well, he's definitely healthy.
yeah,
He's not getting any younger, but it doesn't show. So,
right, right. I guess that's the benefit of the glasses and the persona. Buckethead's never gonna get old.
well, we'll see.
But yeah, behind to the audience, the mask doesn't.
Well, they'll see the bucket. So.
Right, right. I guess it is getting a little corrody.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I met him in New Orleans in like 2003, I think,
Mm.
and that's what got me, into playing music or playing guitar at least, alongside of recording and stuff. I I heard, I guess it was through Scarifist that I wanted to get into guitar and stuff like that, and
Right.
just looked to see who was playing on that album, and kind of went from there. Just like self-taught. Just alongside of recording, a friend gave me a computer, and
Right.
started recording. And again, your music has always been a huge part of that overall process and inspiration. Yeah, it was like Zorn, you, and then into Buckethead, like a big big divergence. But that period in the '90s and like early 2000s and stuff, when a lot of that music was being made, seemed to have like a sense of authenticity that got lost somewhere along the way, for sure.
Right.
You know.
Well, Genesis, he used to get hired to give ideas to filmmakers and producers.
Really. Like for scripts and stuff like that, or
Well, it's more to do with rel related to Crowley and um, different things he knew about that they didn't know about.
to add authenticity.
In LA, there's a lot of Roger Trilling is one. They get hired by rich people to build their library. So when people come to their house, they say, "Wow, you have an amazing library. You must read all this stuff and be
Mm,
very smart." And the fact is, they never opened a book.
wow.
Diego Cortez, Roger Trilling, Genesis, they're the guys that get hired to create the fake art, So.
Hmm. Hmm. To add like a sense of authenticity to something, which is something I noticed that happened during the late '90s, early 2000s. Is there was a switch of instead of Hollywood looking to people to make authenticity, the people started looking to these movies to in a quest for authenticity.
Yeah, well, there's all those movies that do strange, esoteric horror things, and Genesis was probably good at referencing things, and all those guys. There's a few of them. That's California. That's L.A. Nothing is real. So.
Sure, yeah, yeah, yeah. Great big festering neon distraction. And yeah, unfortunately, I mean it's a mess, like a lot of cities, but it's definitely like just nasty,
Yeah, I don't even think about it anymore. I try not to go.
Right, right. Um, I feel like there's a huge degree of authenticity on the East Coast, even still throughout all this time that is lacking. Uh, you
Oh
know,
yeah, there's total different, two different planets, really.
right, right, and I guess yeah, like hip hop being an early indicator of that diversity or
Well,
difference.
hip hop came from the Bronx. It's about 4 blocks from where I'm at right now, and it got picked up in the West Coast, but many years later.
Right.
So Dr. Dre and all those guys it's all P Funk and Bernie
Mm.
and you know RZA and all the stuff that came out of here.
Sure, Wu Tang. I was fortunate enough to open up for Cool Keith. I'm a huge fan of his as
Oh
well.
yeah, Keith is he's a trip. So.
Yeah, he's in New York. I was actually in attendance to one of, I believe, many of his 50th birthday parties.
Well,
Yeah, that was a trip.
yeah, he's a ultramagnetic MC. Those classics. So.
Yeah, and has evolved and kept himself relevant, active, and real. True to himself, authentic, and still making music.
Every once in a while, yeah, but going back, he never completely disappeared. There's Dr. Octagon and
Right,
all that
right.
stuff. Black Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
There's some classic Keith. I did one track with.
Really, I don't know if I've heard that. Uh,
It's on a record called Entano Romori,
okay.
and Cool Keith is doing a track. Flavor Flav, Ram LZ.
Wow, wow. Yeah, I didn't know that, but it makes perfect sense that it's somehow connected to you. I actually have a rubber chicken signed by Cool Keith and Blowfly that I believe I was present the first night and maybe the only night that they met.
Hmm.
A friend of mine was DJing for Cool Keith and he was in town. Blowfly was doing a show and I was like, man, you gotta bring him over here to meet them. And yeah, I got that rubber chicken signed by both of them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure that's the only one in existence anywhere. But that was pretty wild. And I mean something. I'll definitely remember forever by way of Rubber Chicken, I guess, too. But I found out later that Blowfly, there's that song Rockin' Chair by Gwenny McCrae.
Yeah.
He wrote that song actually,
Okay.
and then he ghost wrote for like Casey and the Sunshine Band.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, as as Clarence Reed. He had this whole other non-blowfly career. Who again,
Well,
very talented person that developed this character. Is obviously.
well, that's amazing. Cool, but Cool Keith is a classic. I don't know where he is now, but
Honestly, I wouldn't be too surprised if he was like a stone's throw away from where you all stay. From where you are.
he might be. Yeah.
You know, the world's funny like that. I think, and he's another person who's evolved through the ages and just kept himself in the spotlight in some way or another. You know,
Oh yeah.
and I mean, even obviously, Doctor Octagon being like a crucial thing to get him into a new audience, into kind of a new market, I guess, which is a key thing to survival and relevance and evolution for an artist. That was,
Yeah, yeah.
and it seemed like a natural, like weird evolution for him.
Well, somebody was smart to, because he didn't come up with that. Somebody kind of commissioned him for,
Oh,
I think.
okay. Yeah, and Qbert was on there as well, and that was kind of a big thing for him.
Yeah, Cubert's definitely on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that helped, kind of get his name out. And you've done a lot of work with him.
Well, I worked with all those guys, and we did a lot of live stuff with Cubert. Um, but DJ Disc is the one that I kind of kept. I stayed with him because you could put him into like Disc. We did a band with Jack DeJohnette and Derek Bailey with Disc, and that was sick. And that all those guys, Mixmaster Mike. Uh, there was about a few of them. Invisible Scratch Pickles, it was called.
Right. Okay, yeah, I forget. I always forget who exactly was in that, but I knew Qbert was a
Yeah,
part of.
it's Cubert,
Yeah.
Mike, Disc, and there was another kid whose name I'm forgetting, but a couple of them were Filipino, like Cubert.
Right. Who, I mean, is a monster, a master of his craft as well. From L.A., right?
Is it L.A. or San
Oh,
Francisco?
yeah. No, it's definitely San Francisco. I'm sorry. That's a very important distinction. They're very different planets within a different planet system.
Oh yeah, I don't think L.A. has any DJs like that.
Right. Mostly like club, like maybe like
If
Diplo,
there are, they're like
Dip.
I don't know, like hip hop pop producers or something.
Sure. Yeah, Diplo, and I,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
I'm forgetting a couple. They're flashy. But yeah, I mean, Qbert is absolutely top level of what he does. Innovator, pioneer.
yeah.
No pun intended, I
We
guess.
did. We played in Switzerland, Poland,
Wow, yeah.
uh, not Japan, and then San Francisco, of course,
This is as Praxis.
with different configurations. Praxis, yeah.
Invisible Scratch.
And I tried to do in New York's the Central Park Summer Stage, and I had executioners at the time. Now they were X-Men then, Rob Swift and Rock Raider, and there was four of them. And Scratch Pickles, there was four of them. So I had planned to do 8 DJs with Praxis, and there was a tornado that day. So we actually had to stop and we went downtown to the knitting factory
Uh-huh.
and just kind of took it over, and
Wow.
as many DJs as we could get on stage, they all played. So
Okay, I may have seen this was in the 90s.
yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen footage of that on the YouTubes there with yeah, like a couple of DJs like Ram.
Because Ram LZ was there.
Yeah, he like introduced.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
did something like there was uh, Anti Pop Consortium.
Oh yeah.
The guys from well, what was the name of that band? You can't think of it,
Mm.
but New Kingdom.
Okay.
Yeah, always a bunch of people.
Yeah. Wow.
Sensational, who's a nut, and for some reason everybody was taking acid that night.
For some reason, as if there wasn't enough
Yeah,
energy in the room already. I get, maybe for some people it like acts like I don't know, it just like calms them or gives them a focus protection bubble. I
I
don't know.
think Sensational kind of overshot, and he was very funny though.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Um, yeah, I mean that sounds like to me personally that sounds like an ideal setup. Just having all these brilliant people and access to their crafts and stuff like that, and also potentially difficult to juggle, depending on where the gravity goes or where the I don't know, I guess how things go. Hence the improvisational situations.
Yeah.
But
Well, there's four camera filming of that gig, and I don't know if I have a copy of it, but one day I'll find that. So because that was coming from the Central Park, which was closed down, and then we went there to a knitting factory, and Fred Frith was playing, and I said, "Well, we need to play because everybody's here." So he did a solid, and we played.
awesome, awesome. So there's footage of that coming in from the storm, kind of
Yeah,
in the
there
whole day and
there
night
is. Yeah,
and night. Yeah, that must have been a pretty wild scene. And
yeah.
you coming in with all these like weirdo musician, like ready to.
No, we just showed up. We
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
even contact anybody. So we want to play. So.
Wow. And you have a good relationship with him
I guess.
and stuff. Or I mean, I mean that was nice. That's pretty awesome to get.
Yeah. Well, the knitting factory guy, we played till about 4 in the morning. And then they were going to get in trouble if they continued. So.
Hmm. And that was, I know John Zorn played there like pretty frequently, correct? Is that
Yeah, he fell out with the guy. So.
right? I had seen some interviews with him as well, and I kind of got that seemed to be the case. A lot of tension and things coming down to like just money, basically, I guess.
Everything does.
Right, right. Um, which again contributes to this kind of constricting time for artists. There's not a lot of money in that.
Well, I need money more than anybody, but there's a point where you just say, "I'm not doing that." You crazy? So.
Sure, sure. One might assume that based on the long list of very well-known people that you've worked with, that you yourself would be like living an easy life or something like that. Which obviously, I don't think that's fair for anybody to assume.
Yeah, they all think that. So,
Right, like, oh, this
yeah.
guy's worked with Herbie and Mick Jagger or something.
Hey, Mick Jagger's not the guy that's going to give you a lot of money. So you make more money with some much lesser known people.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't really regret that either. So.
Sure. Just maybe like one of those things you were talking about earlier that you would have done differently. Put away a little bit or bought a house and or anything, whatever.
Well, I made a lot of mistakes, and I always thought that, well, this is nothing. I'm just going to keep getting more and more and millions and internationally, and it just keeps going. And it does slow down, and there are holes in it. So,
Hmm.
but I'm not done. So we hope keep trying.
Right. Right. I mean, yeah, you have so much that you've given and so much more to give. Um, when in finding inspiration, is that difficult? Uh,
Yeah, I don't need inspiration. I live on the memory. So
huh.
all I have to do is recall, and I'm good. So.
Wow. Yeah, and I guess you've created an infinite reservoir to pull from of good memories and music.
Yeah, that's kind of how I get through it. So,
Yeah. Wow. That's a beautiful idea. I hadn't really. Wow, 70 solid minutes.
of what?
Oh, that we've been talking.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's flown by here like the last time too, oh, on that one I actually had like an issue with the my end of the audio, like there was a buzz on my microphone.
On the last interview.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, you know.
Oh, I had a little cat activity too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cute though. It's like personality.
I hope so.
Yeah, yeah. I think people that dig it and understand it's a cat.
That cat hasn't done that since then or before.
Wow, wow. Oh, it was like,
So he was crying out to be heard, I guess.
and yeah, he was for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, the last one seemed to, it's doing well, and I'm glad about that.
No, I thought it was good. So.
And this is a good time to call, a better time to call, I guess, during the day. Um, now that I know that you're more of a day person.
Very much so. Well, these days it's like sometimes I don't even sleep. At about 6 o'clock in the morning, I start watching the news,
Mm.
and then you go till midday or something. But I have to work on what is it, Tuesday. So
At the studio.
yeah,
Okay. And that's mixing or like what's that?
yeah, a little bit recording and mixing.
Okay. Who is that going to be with?
Well, it's Patrick Jabbar. Like I said, he's in Morocco, and I'm doing one song. I've been working with him for a long time. And the opening performance orchestra, they're from Czech Republic, and I'm doing one piece with them. So
Wow, interesting. So that's
that would be Tuesday if I can survive it. So.
yeah, yeah. Um, and who is that? An improvisational piece, or is that something that was composed? Um,
Patrick Jabbar's composed piece,
okay,
like a song,
yeah,
and the opening performance orchestra is really ambient
nice.
and very dark.
Hmm. Do you have um, do you write a lot or compose yourself or find any interest in that approach? Um,
Not so much, no.
yeah, but there's a lot of knowledge there though of composition, I guess.
Very little, but there's enough there to get through it. So
Hmm. And is that the same with like recording? Are those like mostly like on hand things that came?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So there is not a lot of like there was not a lot of constriction or formality placed upon it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think engineers make mixing. I don't think musicians make that either. I think you have to, it's production, and you have to find your own way.
Hmm. Right. And but as far as like the knowledge of like compression and just what everything does and the relationships and stuff like that that you're quote unquote supposed to use, or you've just found your own way.
Well, I always need an engineer that knows what I want to do and that has followed what I've done.
Sure.
And then I kind of, without that, I have a little trouble. But so I always work very closely with whoever's following what I do. So
Is Dave Brunel one of those people? He and I met outside of the shows and talked a bit.
well, Dave Burnell is helping with everything, but nothing to do with the studio. But I appreciate his taste and point of view, and he's very opinionated, which is good,
Sure.
and very helpful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great. It's nice to have support and people who believe in you and what you do and stuff, and that's great. I didn't realize how many album covers Yoko had done.
Yeah, quite a lot.
Yeah, that's could be something worth talking about next time as well. But yeah, it's just it's good that I see a lot of the support and effort that she's put into to to helping and making things happen.
Yeah, big support.
Yeah, it's nice to have people in your corner and stuff, and I hope that more and more of those people come through to because you have definitely encountered a lot of great people for sure.
Well, yeah, it's the only way I'm here, really, to be honest. So,
Sure. Um, well, for whatever it's worth, I'm happy to be a very, small but determined, part of that helping and just getting any word out there, trying.
well, yeah, I think it helps a lot. So,
Good, good, yeah. I want to give like a little bit of time.
well, it's whatever you want to do. Just
Okay,
I think it helps right now, and I think the last one was very positive, and it helps.
good,
And
good.
just I would say keep doing it. As long as you don't repeat yourself.
Right, yeah. I mean, there's just so much to get into. Yeah, we'll formulate some good topics or specifics, I guess, to get into.
Yeah,
Cool, cool. Like we've covered a good another good general, thing and can get specific.
yeah. But I think it's a good thing, and it's a good time. Because I'm going to need as much visibility as possible. So
Right. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll do whatever I can to to help project that and draw it upon it, you know.
yeah, well, it does help. So
Good, good, good. All right. Well, I'm very grateful. It's this is a pleasure for me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And
okay, yeah, thank you.
alrighty.
All right,
All right. Bye now.
bye.